Welcome to the Burnout Recovery Podcast, a guiding resource dedicated to healthcare professionals on their journey to overcoming burnout. Spearheaded by Dr. Joe Braid, a certified professional coach and rehabilitation physician. This podcast offers practical strategies through expert interviews and personal resilience stories, providing invaluable tools for navigating professional challenges while prioritizing well-being. Regardless of your role in healthcare, this podcast acknowledges the toll of your work on your overall health and is committed to supporting your recovery from burnout and fostering a fulfilling, sustainable career. So, if you're ready to begin a transformative journey, join us for each new episode. Together, we'll navigate challenges, celebrate successes, and build a supportive community of healthcare professionals.
Hello, and welcome back to the Burnout Recovery Podcast. Today, I have the pleasure of hosting Dr. Kathy Stepien, an amazing paediatrician and physiotherapist and a coach who hails from all the way in Juneau, Alaska. Welcome, Kathy.
Thank you. It's terrific to be here.
So I had the pleasure of meeting Kathy about 2 years ago when I traveled over to the US for the Physician Coaching Summit, which Kathy hosts every year as part of the Institute for Physician Wellness organization that she created in 2016. And this was this amazing space in a beautiful location with 50 doctors who were also coaches. It blew my mind. I didn't realize it was such a big thing, and for all of us to have that commonality between many still practicing as clinicians and most practicing as coaches as well. In the space, we had so much richness from great well-being strategies that were part of the schedule to really wonderful talks that might have been a personal journey, might have been a research-based, what I'm doing in the hospital system that I work in there. And I came back the next year as well and joined in as one of the presenters, which was heaps of fun. So it was great to meet you through that space, Kathy, and I'm delighted to reconnect with you again today through the podcast.
It's certainly been a joy for me. For you to make the big trek over and join us was really special. And I really appreciated being able to connect in that way. You're right. It's really something to be able to spend time with physicians who have gone on to additional training and coaching and are working with helping whoever they are helping through that extra lens. And to have that time together, I love organizing it. I love participating in it. I just feel so fortunate to be able to get to know people like you and others from all over.
Yeah, so good. Yeah. And in Australia here, we are also springboarding a collective called Doctors Who Coach Doctors. And I believe next year we'll be having our first in-person connection and workshop and sessions together. We do catch up by Zoom, and we've also hosted a virtual summit just this year as well, which has been a real success. So they said, "Hey, Joe, you're the one that's been to the US twice. Can you come and give us some inspo around this?" So thank you, Kathy. This comes full circle to connecting with you today.
I love that. I love hearing that too, that there's such a need, right?
Yes.
So congratulations. I'm thrilled to hear that's happening. And one of these days I'll get on an airplane and come to your event down there. That'd be fantastic.
Do. I think we're looking at October, November 25. So yeah, I'll send you the details. Okay, so Kathy, why don't you give your own introduction? I've just shared a few amazing things about you, but there's so much more. Please share with my audience, your journey to what you are currently doing now.
It's hard to know where to start with that. I think so often as we go through our professional lives and our personal lives, we pick up different skills and have different interests and continue to grow and build. And so it's hard to know exactly where all of this started. I can tell you my first career was in physical therapy. I was a physical therapist for 13 years. And it was during that time that I burned out. And I remember feeling terrible because I was burned out, but also terrible because I felt so bad for my patients. They were coming to me for help and my cup was empty. I just didn't have didn't have what I think patients deserve when they're seeking care, right? Like I just didn't have that level of contribution that I would have liked to have been able to offer. So there was not only feeling terrible from the burnout, but also kind of the guilt associated with it. Like, oh man, they deserve to have someone who's really has a full cup and can truly help them. Mm-hmm. So I actually roller coastered. This was decades ago, and I roller coastered in and out of burnout for a while. And I mentioned it was decades ago because I don't think we really were having these conversations decades ago. Certainly not in the physical therapy realm, but not in medicine either. It was burnout was not something we were talking about. People were certainly experiencing it, but we just didn't understand it like we do now. Fast forward.
I think that's something really important to highlight. So many people, including myself, who I've interviewed on this podcast as well, is we couldn't really ID what was going on then because we maybe didn't have the detailed verbiage around it or an understanding that it wasn't quite as normal as being tired and fatigued from the clinical work and the clinical load and yeah, somewhat normalizing that we didn't realize we were in it when we were in it, which is part of the challenge, I think, of burnout.
Yeah, part of it. That is part of it. That's good insight that we might not recognize. We're walking, at least for me, I was walking around feeling stuck, and I knew I felt stuck, and I kept turning to various resources that I could identify. It's like, well, who can help if I reach out to various people and various experts. I'm like, who can help me figure out a way forward? I can tell you that it took years I kind of roller coastered. I pivoted and like, oh, I'll focus on this area or I'll do this or that or whatever. And it just, I felt like my cup would fill up a little bit and then it would just drain right back down again. And part of it was, a lot of it, I think, was really my own personal skill set. How do I care for others when there's no upper limit to how much we can do and not overgive and actually keep myself well as I'm helping others be well. So there's a lot of things that went into it. And then perhaps at a time and place that we really didn't talk a lot about burnout, but I sure felt it. I just felt like, I love healthcare, but this is not, it was something needed to change. And I just couldn't put my finger on it. So I did, in that time, I went on to graduate school in philosophy, which was something I really knew nothing about, but I was interested in learning more of things outside of science. Science is science is home for me. Like the world and science makes sense to me, and it's very comfortable and familiar and fun. And I love learning. But I also found that, okay, I really hadn't pursued a lot of work outside of science. What else do people think and talk about? So I went to graduate school in philosophy. I ended up, my interest was in ethics, and I focused on applied ethics in particular. And it was during that time, after I completed graduate school, that I thought, I really am interested in medicine, and it's now or never. I was in my early 30s at that point. I thought, it's still there. There is this, I can't not do it anymore, was really how it felt. It's like, okay, there's all these reasons, all these people saying, don't go into medicine. And finally, I just decided, if I'm going to do this, I quit thinking about it and just do it.
Yes.
And so I jumped in, I applied to medical school, and the rest is living happily ever after. I also knew, I recognized very early that there's no upper limit as to how much I could give in medicine. And if there was going to be any limit at all, it was going to be my responsibility to set that, and that I would be walking into a career that I love about medicine is that you can just learn and do and so much. There's throughout your career, you can always be developing new knowledge. There's a million ways to get involved in medicine. But also recognizing with that, the other side of the coin is, okay, well, then I need to be responsible and make sure that I'm not sacrificing my own well-being as I pursue my many interests. So So yeah, I went to medical school and residency. I had my children during medical school. And then I've been working as a pediatrician since then. It's fantastic. I love it. I love it.
So,
The other piece of that,
or did burnout happen as a pediatrician as well? Did you see that come up there?
do burnout as a pediatrician?
Yeah.
No, I have not burned out as a physician. And I'm really thankful for that because it is a high risk profession, right? And I think I'd never want to say thank you for going through a challenging time. And at the same time, I see the gift of me burning out as a physical therapist was that I really recognized, oh, I'm going to burn out as a physician if I don't get out ahead of this and really develop some skills and knowledge that are and strategies that will protect me in a high risk profession.
Yeah, great. So great insights within yourself to see what could happen ahead. And, were those strategies you took on alone or you developed alone, or did you have any support around you to help you with that, Kathy?
Oh, wonderful question. A lot of it was really on my own, to be honest. Having children during medical school, I was an older student. I was 35 when I started medical school, an older mom. And it's very clarifying that not only could medicine, there's no upper limit as to how much I can give to medicine. That's also true with being a mom. There's no upper limit as to the needs of my children. And so a lot of it was learned along the way. And then additional training and all kinds of things that help our well-being. So namely, I have had a lifelong interest in mindfulness and in meditation. And so my training as a meditation instructor and in mindfulness has helped. I have studied the work of Kristen Neff and Christopher Germer and teach mindful self-compassion as well as mindfulness-based stress reduction. And then, of course, my coach training in a couple different coaching schools where I learned different coaching approaches and have absolutely applied that to my own well-being. So a lot of different tools in the toolbox.
Yeah, very much that sort of lifelong learner approach that I think so many of us can relate to, for sure. What are you doing currently? You're still working as a pediatrician? What else is?
I work part-time as a pediatrician and have done so now for quite a few years. And I hope to keep practicing pediatrics for a long time. The other part of the time, I am the director of the Institute for Physician Wellness. So you mentioned that I opened that in 2016. Prior to starting medicine, one of the things I really enjoyed doing was bringing people together for a variety of things, personally or professionally, and had been leading some retreats as part of that. And I got to a stage after I finished residency and got my feet on the ground as an attending, and my boys were a little bit older. I thought, it's really time. I'm ready to bring physicians together. And there is an incredible need for physicians to connect and come together. That so many physicians are struggling or feeling isolated. And when we bring people together, it's magical. It's incredibly powerful when physicians gather. So I opened the Institute for Physician Wellness and started offering physician wellness retreats, which was truly a gift to get to know so many amazing people. And from there, developed further programming classes, my anti-burnout program for women physicians.
Yes.
And a whole variety of educational things and public speaking and all of that goes along with IPW.
Amazing. Yeah. Great. Yeah, so there's two other offerings, the Chief Wellness Officer that you offer, and also a physician leadership program. We were just talking before we started recording around your insights around how women in leadership almost lead from a slightly different lens than historically the pattern might have been or the training might have been, and that you see that women in leadership often strive for that winning for all kind of approach. It was just a really interesting topic that we were talking around there, Kathy. Do you want to let the audience know a bit about some of your insights in what you see as women in leadership and the impact that they can have?
Sure. I think that we all bring different things to the table as leaders, and leadership can look and should look very different as there are a variety of people in leadership roles. It saddens me when we feel like there's one right way, and there's only one way, and we need to do it that way in order to be a successful leader. I do think that the diversity really makes for a much more rich conversation, more meaningful conversation, but also a more impactful experience for everyone involved. So I am an introvert. I'm quiet. I think that as a leader, that is part of my leadership, is that I tend to not put myself out there in the same way that extroverted people might, for example. Also, at my core, one of my core values is connection and collaboration. And I do believe that when we lead in a way that comes from the lens of service and that we all rise together, it has a profound impact in the outcome. So rather than perhaps competing or I've got mine, I'm really like coming from a place where it's much more self, meaning the individual self, not a greater collective self, but much more self-interested. That just it's a different lens that doesn't resonate with me. Mm-hmm. I feel like when we see the self as how interconnected we truly are, that our self-interest is really the interconnected self-interest that we all rise. It's just such a more joyful and meaningful and rich experience to come from that lens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I really like that. And, I do remember you saying at one of the conferences that you're an introvert, and yet there was this gentle, confident, self-assured, without big ego leadership from the front that facilitated these retreats beautifully.
Thank you. That's kind of you to say.
So yeah, we don't all need to be extroverts to also lead. It's not a either or by any means.
It's not either or. And I think it's important to embrace all of that wherever we're at on, I love extroverts. I also love introverts. And I think for me, what makes sense is really showing up with authenticity and leading in a way that is, that resonates with how I want to show up in the world, how I'm wired to show up in the world. The world needs that too. I truly believe that.
Yeah. Yeah. So wonderful. So one of the memorable talks you have given also at your talks is, so we're all away from home and we don't have to, deal with children if we have children, or we don't have to deal with domestics. And your talk title was, "It's Not About the Dishwasher." So please tell this curious audience why this super catchy title comes up in a physician coaching summit, please, Kathy.
It comes up, I think, because it's such a universal experience. I found that in my own home, we had a lot of conversations about the dishwasher. A lot, like on a regular basis. We still do. And I was talking to a friend. She had shared with me that she and her partner were struggling. And one of the things that she kind of just blurted out in a bit of an exasperated way was, "We just fight about the dishwasher all the time." And it was like this light bulb, like, oh my gosh, we all have these conversations and talk about the dishwasher and even fight about the dishwasher, but it's not about the dishwasher. The dishwasher is merely an appliance. It literally is something you plug in and it's just an appliance. It's so arbitrary. it's not about the dishwasher. It's really about what we make it mean.
Mm. Mm.
And I think that it's a catchy topic and a catchy title, but it can be applied in so many different ways that when I've had conversations with my own family members or friends, or I reached out to women in medicine and I invited them to share with me their struggles over the dishwasher and share with me their photos. And it was hilarious. You've seen some of these photos, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Just the drama around it, like, can you believe they loaded it this way? Or can you believe they ran it when it wasn't even full? And then somebody sent me pictures where honestly, it was like 10 times more dishes than probably should be in a dishwasher. And that was perfect at their household. And it's just pretty comical to see how we all have really some big ideas about how it should be.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yet we make it mean so many things. I liken it to, I could have easily written, it's not about the wet towel on the floor or about the ski boots that are left in the hallway for 2 weeks that I'm tripping over that my son wouldn't put away, right? My brain would make it mean all kinds of things. So with the ski boots, I had these thoughts of, disbelief. I can't believe he is leaving them there. Doesn't he see them? Doesn't he care? Oh, I'm clearly not a good mom if I haven't taught my teenager to put his stuff away and to be so disrespectful. And he doesn't care about me or about the rest of the family. My brain would just make it mean all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Same with the dishwasher. Why would someone do that? If they really loved me, they wouldn't leave dishes in the sink so that when I get home from a long day at the hospital, I have to load the dishwasher. If they really loved me, they would load the dishwasher themselves, right? Like, we make it mean so many things, and it can be so triggering for many of us. And when we can step back and laugh about it actually and recognize, oh yeah, this is why it's coming up for me. This is why it's an issue. I'm making it mean, fill in the blank. When we can get a glimpse into that, it allows us, I think, to soften it and be open to understanding what that story might be, what the belief is. Perhaps if we're feeling triggered, it's like, okay, what is the triggering thought or feeling? What's coming up for us in our body and our emotions? How are we acting? And so it can be a really helpful way to unpack some of what we're walking around with.
Yeah. Fantastic. Really, relatable about, the wet towel as well, or, so many other things, even just within the household, and then how learning around that, we can take it to other environments or other situations we find ourselves in and understand ourselves better and our brain's filters of perceiving the situation and why we see it that way.
It's so activating, isn't it? I think the dishwasher can really be an activating, triggering thing in a lot of households. And if you take that into medicine, for those of us who work with physicians, I feel that same way about the electronic medical record, like how much drama and how triggering it can be. I can't believe it's broken again. I can't believe I have to swipe in 18 times. I can't believe how long this takes me. All of the drama we have around all of that. It's like, well, what's going on there? Because it really is just a tool. And what am I making it mean? How can I use this tool as efficiently as possible and also kind of become more astute regarding the mental chatter around it so that I can actually enjoy my work and not have it be, a burden on a regular basis.
And reflecting on what you said earlier, you said, I stopped just thinking about it and started doing. And also, what is that cognitive load we have around, I'm driving back home, I wonder what state the dishwasher will be in. Look, I honestly don't think that way, but, it might be some little time that you notice you have that cognitive busyness around this inanimate thing that's very helpful in the household, but we have our own thoughts and feelings around it.
Yeah. And imagine if we used that energy in different ways, right? We think about having, like, we can get exhausted with all of the drama and everything that's perhaps pressing on our buttons. And instead it's like, oh, if we can step back from that and reframe and understand why it's so bothersome to us, then it gives us the opportunity to take all of that energy and use it towards something we really enjoy or how we want to be showing up instead.
Yeah. Fantastic. Great. I've got 2 more questions. And the first one I'd love to ask is, what are you looking forward to in 2025?
Wow, I'm actually, this is tender. I'm going to become an empty nester in 2025. I can't believe it.
Wow.
So
Okay.
I'm not looking forward to that. That's the first thing that comes up in my mind. And yet, of course, we want our kids to fly the nest, and that's appropriate as well. But it's going to be a year of great change for me. At IPW, I am really excited about the anti-burnout program for women physicians that I mentioned.
Yeah.
I really love bringing physicians together, and the coaching that we get to do is so impactful. And the community and the conversations we have are so impactful. So I'm really looking forward to continuing with that, building the community, continuing to show up as the best coach I can be and helping our physician colleagues, and learning and growing for myself, right? I come with a sense of beginner's mind where we're always learning more about whatever it is that we're doing. And so I'm excited for more of that in 2025.
Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah, sounds really good. So my last question is, what is one self-care routine that you rarely miss?
Oh, goodness. I don't ever miss, because I just can't. It's almost like brushing my teeth. You can't skip it, right? I was a young person right out of high school, and I started a morning exercise routine. And that has just really become an incredibly important part of my life. I get up in the morning and I have time for exercise. And that exercise has looked very different over the decades. And then part of that is also my quiet time for meditation and mindfulness, and perhaps some yoga or qigong or tai chi along, after, or stretching or exercise or strengthening, whatever it might be. So my morning routine is, if I miss it, I'm just off. So that is one self-care routine that it literally is like brushing my teeth. I kind of can't live without it.
Yes. Yes. Great. Yeah. So that sticks and has stuck for a long time, and, is, reliable almost for shaping how your day will be. You can see the change in your day if that self-care part of your day is omitted for travel or whatever reason it might be.
Yeah. And it's so interesting, because part of it is the habit of doing it. And it's, good for my health. And that's why I started as a young person. But it really, I don't have to force myself to do it. You know how sometimes we have, like, we're working on a part of our exercise program, like, oh, I have to go do this because it's good for me. I don't feel that way at all. I feel like it's like I really enjoy doing it. So it's self-reinforcing. Yes. And if I don't have that quiet mindfulness in the morning, I really miss it. And so it is self reinforcing for sure, which I feel very fortunate to have. And that also meant when I was in residency and had 2 babies, that meant I was getting up at 4:30 in the morning to have that time before I'd go sign in for a 30-hour shift, right? It was, it doesn't mean it's easy, but it is really important to my well-being. One of the things I added a couple of years ago, which I really love, I got this from Christopher Germer, where I have added in the question to myself. I wake up in the morning, and my golden retriever often, puts her head on my bed, like, okay, is it time? Hello, will you pet me now? Right? But before I get out of bed and tend to my dog, I ask myself, what do you need, dear one? And I put my hand on my heart and I ask myself that question. And then I try to not launch into that big, long to-do list that often, starts with the day. But I just try to listen, even for 30 seconds or a minute. What do you need, dear one? What do you need to be well? And I ask myself that particular question, which I think is a really helpful question for me. I don't know that it is for everybody, but it is for me and many others who are in service professions, because our work is so other-oriented. And by nature and nurture, it's very natural for me to think about everybody else and kind of not think about myself and what I need to be well. So to just pause, even for a little bit, as part of my morning routine and ask what I need to be well, and to do so in a very tender way and kind of listen for the response. And sometimes it can be something profound, like, I really need to have that difficult conversation that I've been putting off, or something like that. Sometimes it's a little thing like, I really need to make sure I'm eating a salad with dinner tonight, right? Like whatever it is. So it can just be some basic stuff, or it could be more enlightened, profound things. But it is a really, I think, something I've grown to cherish as part of my morning routine. Now, that's a very long answer. Sorry for your simple and beautiful question, a very long answer, but I hope that's helpful for your listeners.
I would say it's rich with options, and people can take from it what maybe resonates with them or is some new approach that they might want to take. So thank you for that. Great. So please highlight where people can connect with you online. Where are the resources that people might find that you could support them with?
Yes, thank you for asking. You can find me at the Institute for Physician Wellness. So the instituteforphysicianwellness.com. If you just put that in the search bar, you'll end up at our website. There you will find information about coaching. In my coaching program, you'll find information about the retreats that we offer, which I'm really excited about. And the 5th annual Physician Coaching Summit is coming up in less than a month. There's information there. We have information about our Chief Wellness Officer Training and Certification Program and our Physician Leadership Certification that is led by Alicia Kowalski. She really focuses on organizational changes. And so I, over the years, have identified that just love bringing her in to be able to lead those programs. And so all kinds of information there. And then that's our website. And then I'm also on social media. We have an Institute for Physician Wellness Facebook group. Of course, on Instagram, Kathy Stepien, MD. I'm on LinkedIn as well. So all the usual places.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. I'll list all of those in the show notes. Great resources for people to connect with you. Well, Kathy, it's been my absolute pleasure to host you on the podcast. It's been a little while in planning, and that is wonderful. Have an amazing time with the next 5th Physician Coaching Summit. My apologies, I won't be here this year, but another time, and I will be sure to send an invite to you when we host the Australian Physician Coaching Summit, or some similar name in the future, which is in process. It really is.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you for having me.
So welcome. See you again. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Burnout Recovery Podcast. If there's someone in your world who would also benefit from this, please share it with them. Remember, you are not alone, and there is hope for a brighter, more fulfilling future. Let's continue this journey together, one episode at a time. For more resources, including how to move from dread to delight, head to drjoebraid.com.